everyone. Welcome to the stream today. Live for some feeds. Currently listening to Riley and Catherine. I'll let people get in here a bit before we give as much of a recap as I can. I have done my best to stay abreast of the situation. I just got home from going to see the movie Together, which I unfortunately timed fairly poorly because Keanu won the veto basically right when the movie started. I thought the movie was good. I thought it was a good movie. It was definitely, yeah, I would say it was a bit gross. Alexander, thank you for the $2 over there on YouTube. It was a quick comp and it started earlier than last week. Or earlier than 2 weeks ago, at least. Yeah, I missed a lot of the chats. I have checked them out. I've seen some people talking about them. I've not seen them myself. Morgan and talking to Zach now. The big thing for me is I'm seeing a lot of chatter about Mickey might put Jimmy up, which we did flag as a theoretical possibility, but I really didn't think that it would be this much of a possibility. And would obviously be a wild mistake from Mickey. Lena, thank you. The 59th in a row. So okay. Sorry, I'm listening to Morgan and Zach, but I'm gonna mute them for a moment. So basically, Keanu has won the veto. This is a big problem for Mickey. She really would have loved to see Keanu leave. Maybe she should have backdoored him. But with with Keanu having the veto, she has to name a replacement nominee. The obvious choice is Catherine. You throw Catherine up there, you guarantee that one of Catherine or Riley go home. That's not bad, right? The problem is she doesn't want Riley to go home. And if she doesn't want Riley to go home, she also then theoretically doesn't want to piss off Riley by putting up Catherine. Do I agree with this line of reasoning? Not really, but, you know, I can see the line, right? I can see what she's thinking there. If not Catherine, who? Well, different people have different preferences. Catherine would love to see Zach go up there. Rachel would love to see Vinny go up there. There are others that would love to see Rachel go up there. But it seems as though Morgan and maybe some others would love to see potentially Jimmy go up there. And so far, it feels like most of the conversations have centered around primarily anti-Jimmy conversation, specifically from Mickey. Obviously, this would be a colossal mistake. Not only is Jimmy not guaranteed to actually leave if he goes up on the block, which is the inherent risk by nominating someone, but Jimmy, if he does leave, that's just not good. Jimmy is a number for Mickey in a way that so many other people are not, specifically people like Zach or Vinny or many people. Even if she does pick up Catherine and Riley in the trade, there's a better alternative, and that better alternative would theoretically be Zach, but of course he has a veto, so shouldn't be him. Obviously, Vinny is the move here. Vinny has traded a lot of his own stock in the game recently, and there actually wouldn't be that many people upset with Mickey if she put Vinny up on the block. And if he stayed up there, he would go home and likely be exposed for a lot of what he was doing, and she'd look like a genius for putting him up, because a lot of stuff would come out once he's on the block, I think. So that's the obvious play. I don't blame her for not seeing it, but the issue with putting Jimmy on the block is that Jimmy is a number for her in a way, again, that very few other people are at the moment. On top of that, he is a problem for other people that they want to deal with. And so her doing that move for them, as we continue to talk about, only helps other people and not her. So, not to mention the fact that Jimmy has almost no social capital in the house and is just frankly not much of a threat to anyone, even though he still is a big target for a lot of people. I am seeing the camera, yeah. So the question becomes, where are we like looking, right? Like as of right now, Rachel is trying to push Vinny. And she had a conversation with Ashley about it, I believe. I'm not sure how receptive Ashley was. Based on what I was reading, she was like, "Yeah, Vinny or Jimmy," and Rachel was trying to push like, Vinny. I do think that if Rachel, Ashley, Will, and Ava all push Vinny, there's a chance Mickey buckles on that. But I don't know that Ashley is going to actually push that direction. Does Vinny leave next to Kelly or Riley? Yeah, I think so. If we look at the votes, let's say it's Vinny next to Riley. I think you go Ashley, Ava, who knows about Jimmy, but likely Jimmy, Catherine, even if you don't count Lauren or Morgan, you then have Rachel and Will. Yeah, you have plenty. You have more than plenty. Yeah, I mean, this would be a very good spot for Ava to drop the info about the vote on Wednesday night and Thursday. And given the rift between Mickey and Morgan, the fact that Morgan will be against this play, I think won't necessarily matter. So there's definitely a chance here, but there's also a high chance that she just puts up Jimmy, which would just be doing the work for Morgan, Zach, and Vince. Who has a final two with Vinny? I guess the answer is who has a final two left with Vinny, and that would be like Lauren and Zach, and maybe Morgan. Outside of that, I'm not sure that any of the final twos are at the moment held up by anybody else. Now, for what it's worth, what I was just hearing from Riley was like, hey, I would like to align with the people that I think I can beat in competitions. Basically, once the big dogs are out, I'm the big dog in the house, and I'll just win everything. And so that is perhaps part of why Riley may join the Mickey side of things. Which again, there's logic to not doing Cat. I personally think that Cat is not a bad play, but I can see the logic if you're really confident that you can pick up Cat and Riley. But the issue with people that are so easily picked up is that it's easy come, easy go. And I think that Keanu has been a great example of that. The fact that Riley was basically looking to target Mickey specifically this week, and she took over his HOH and is now looking at making him a very close ally. It's the same sort of thing that happened with Jimmy, where he thought he was picking up Lauren and Catherine. And now, you know, by the end of the week, they're both anti-Jimmy. There's a bit of a glow around you while you're HOH that makes people genuinely like you more often. But once that glow is gone, the incentive isn't there. All right, I'm going to keep listening to Morgan and Zach for a second here. Of course, they just like paused. Attack, thank you for the 8th month. Thank you, Burrs, as well for the 23rd. My name is Jeff. Welcome to the Robot Army. Card Girl, thank you for the 15th. So Morgan and Zach very much talking about really wanting to push Jimmy, which really should be the sign for Mickey to not do it. The fact that Zach is foaming at the mouth, wanting this. Zach is not an ally of Mickey's. Not really. Why is Jimmy good for Mickey? He is a very necessary number and shield, I would say. I mean, listen, Jimmy's a problem. I will not contest that point. But luckily, he's a problem for other people more than he is for Mickey. He was whipping up votes for Mickey's side last week. He definitely was a bad HOH for them. And I can understand why she doesn't trust him. But the fact that so many other people don't trust him isn't a sign that you should put him up as much as it is a sign that they will deal with him. And I think that's what she's thinking about with Vinny. The difference is that Vinny does still have a core of people that are loyal to him, whereas Jimmy does not. But I don't know if she really knows that. Or maybe she does and thinks it's better to go after the person who doesn't have anyone loyal to him, because then people won't be as mad at me. What do I think Mickey and Morgan will do now that Keanu told about Zach and Vince trying to flip votes? I mean, that has loosely been out there, but coming from Keanu, I don't think it works. I think if Ava tells them, that might set in, but it certainly I don't think matters for Morgan, and I'm not sure that Mickey is in the right headspace to really take it in, especially if it comes from Keanu. Yeah, basically what I saw was that Rachel pitched Vinny immediately, and Mickey turned it down, saying, it's too early. I don't want to do that yet. And it did seem like she was reassuring Catherine a lot, basically saying, like, between you and me, I don't want it to be you. But didn't promise anything. But that was the same thing. She didn't promise Catherine anything before Noms either. She was more saying, I don't want you to go home. It's just a little bit of a strange thing to say because basically, Mickey, what I did see was that she said for sure Riley's not going home. So saying Riley's not going home and I don't want you to go home, it pretty heavily implies that you're not going to put her on the block, right? Like, but because here's the thing too. Again, if Mickey puts up Jimmy, Jimmy now flies into the arms of Zach and Vince and Morgan. Maybe not Morgan, but Zach and Vince and Lauren and quite frankly, Catherine and basically anybody he can. He's going to need to campaign for votes. And they're going to string him along. And if he wins the blockbuster, he's now a number for them. So either way, you're dealing with their problem for them. My understanding is that Keanu said was just like overly like celebrating when he won the veto, and was just like yelling like "Give it to me" or something to Ava because she was the host, I think. I really need to see Mickey talk to Ashley. If Ashley really does push Jimmy, it could definitely happen. Does this remind me of Felicia putting Isom up? Not a ton. Pretty different. But I guess I could see vaguely the similarities. Cherry, thank you for gifting a sub there. can't listen to these two. Does Jimmy go if he's up on the block? Very likely, I would say, if he stays up on the block. Assuming Ashley pushes for it and wants it, you could say Ashley. Even if you say Rachel's able to pull Ava, it's not enough. Because Catherine votes for it, Lauren votes for it, Vinny, Zach, Morgan. It's a done deal. I guess if the women backed out of it, if they were like, actually, we've decided we don't want to do this, and you said, okay, Ashley, Ava, Rachel, Will, you need 2 more. And you just don't have them. I just don't think you have them, which is part of the problem. I mean, again, like if your nominations put you in a scenario where you don't have the votes to control who leaves because the other side has too much control, that's a problem. That's a problem. Because now, even if Jimmy goes up, even if Mickey wanted him to stay, she wouldn't be able to, because all of a sudden, Vince, Zach, Morgan, Keanu, like all of those people now hold control of the votes. Lauren. But listen, it wouldn't be Big Brother 27 if we didn't have an awful HOA train. So we should have known when this morning we were like, man, Mickey, first good HOA train? Oh, it's phenomenal for Vince and Zach. Yeah. Given where the comp threats genuinely do seem to lie, because like the thing about Vince and Zach continually screwing themselves over is that it's almost always been loss of opportunity. It's almost always been they could be in such a better position and they're screwing themselves out of their own good position, but they're not necessarily devastated. Whereas, and part of the reason being, like, they're still in a decent spot with a decent core and theoretically should be able to win more comps than most. The same's not really true for Mickey, especially if she doesn't have Lauren, and if she emboldens Vince and Zach, she definitely doesn't have Lauren, or doesn't have Morgan. So if you have Lauren, Vince, Zach, Morgan as a 4, all of them except for Morgan have won competitions. Morgan's promising she's going to win the wall comp. And you take out Jimmy, one of the only other people that has won competitions on your side, using an HOH you didn't actually even win via competition, theoretically. And even if you do count it because she found a thing in the dark room, like, you're still basically the only one left on your side that has won anything. So where Vince and Zach have made really bad mistakes and have really screwed themselves over, it's never been in a way that has necessarily completely devastated their games. And I say this unless Vince goes up this week and leaves, which is also still a possibility. But I think this kind of move from Mickey could be the kind of thing that's a game ender. Can I re-rank Lauren's HOH in hindsight? It's still terrible. I mean, there's definitely still a very like decent chance that Vince goes up and goes home this week, which again wouldn't be the worst thing for Lauren's game, but I already accounted for that. Oh, it's way worse for Mickey. It's actually not terrible for Morgan. It's not great for Morgan because her position in the hierarchy with Zach and Vince is very low. But her hierarchy in the structure of the women is also low. The difference is that, like, amongst the women, she's one of the more athletic players and therefore much more likely to win a bunch of endgame comps. Whereas against Vince, Zach, and Lauren, she has much tougher competition and is on the low end of their positioning. They are trying to get Keanu to work with them, and they have been. Keanu has just refused. Unclear how it affects Rachel at this point with the Morgan Mickey conversation. I mean, it's just such a wild. Keanu is just out for someone's blood, and he keeps just wavering back and forth. Again, they were trying to make it seem like it was all Jimmy, and he kept defaulting to Rachel. If he's gonna blame someone, it feels like it's always gonna be a woman. And so if it's not Mickey and Morgan, it's gonna be Rachel. And if it's not Rachel, it's gonna be Mickey and Morgan. And maybe at some point he'll come around to blaming Jimmy. He certainly seems to lose a lot of trust in Vince. But it's gonna be tough for him, I think. It's gonna require a lot of mental fortitude and effort for him to come out of that space. So we'll see. I mean, it's week 4 of him basically being on the block every single week, and he still hasn't figured it out. So if he gets there now, it will have taken 4 weeks. Not week 1, but he was so close to being on the block and was warned by Rachel that he was very close to being on the block, so I count it. Is Cat the best renom? I mean, I think it really depends on how much you believe in Riley and Kat being pulled in as numbers for Mickey. And honestly, I just don't see it. I really don't. I think that Riley can be pulled in. I think that Riley is moldable, almost too moldable. But I don't think Catherine is moldable. I think that even if you get Catherine on your side, she's like a Morgan. She's going to still pitch for what she wants. She's not going to listen to you. She's not going to obey your commands. I mean, she was even just telling Mickey straight up, I want Ashley gone. And Ashley is a valuable number for Mickey. She's saying that to Mickey's face right now when Mickey has the power to nominate her. Imagine what she will say to Mickey when Catherine is the HOH or Riley is the HOH. I just don't think it's a viable path to try to pick up both of them as numbers. I think you can absolutely snipe Catherine out of the game, and Riley's already got too many enemies anyway. Maybe he's mad at you initially, but given how moldable he already has been, I think there's plenty of opportunity to pick him up at some point. But not while Catherine's there. And so I do think Catherine is probably her best bet at a renom. I think that Vince is probably the next best. Hold on, Ava's talking to Jimmy. Slurpee, thank you for the 6th month. Lauren, I wouldn't do. I wouldn't do Lauren. Because if you're going to do Lauren, you might as well do Vince. So they're just talking about the Keanu thing. And now we're back on Riley and Catherine. For the record, this is a bunch of speculation. We still haven't properly, I think, heard from Mickey what she plans to do. It just feels like she might go in a direction, and there's been a lot of talk in the house about her going in that direction. I think in Mickey's mind, Ashley is her number one. But I don't know that she has like a solid number one at this point. In her mind. I think she likes Will too, but she doesn't talk a lot of game with Will. Because Will just doesn't talk a lot of game. Ashley's number one in her mind is probably Zach. No. It might be Will. I don't know that Ashley feels solidly like she has a number one, to be honest. I think Will considers Ashley to be his number one. I think Ashley would probably maybe say Will if you asked her. I think at this point, Rachel and Ava do say each other, probably. At what point do I think Rachel has to start gaming hard to have a chance to win? I think this is the week. I think Rachel needs to push Vince hard. Hard, hard, hard. If Rachel can get Vince on the block this week, she is sitting so unbelievably pretty. I say that. What I mean is that she comes off of people's radars because she's basically only on Vince's radar. Because, like, the thing is that it's weird to say, but Rachel Riley is like not a huge threat at the moment. She hasn't won a comp, and she doesn't have a lot of solid ties. She's just a number for the women and a pretty valuable one because she has good advice and she's a big target. And you don't really need to be scared of Rachel in the long run because she's struggled so much to make connections. And everyone else is generally more connected than she is. So yeah. It feels weird saying that about a vet because it's like that's often the hole that people fall into with vets in the house, but we're watching on the outside like you fools. But in this case, I think it's actually kind of true. So when I say Rachel would be sitting pretty with Vince targeted, I mean that she'll just be in a better spot than she was before. A lot of people benefit from Vince leaving. This Ava Jimmy conversation just doesn't feel super relevant because we haven't seen Ava talk to Mickey yet, so they're kind of behind on what the current conversation is, I think. Ava's saying we shouldn't talk about the renom until it happens because it might be irrelevant. Vincent Morgan. Why does Kat dislike Ashley? Showergate was the start of it. Just more Jimmy bashing here. I mean, okay, the thing too though about Morgan is that like for as much as this is worse for Mickey, it's not that great for Morgan. It's really not. Like because for Morgan, getting out one of Catherine or or Riley would be pretty great. I mean, she was about to go on the block with a Riley HOH, and she hasn't put in the same amount of work that Mickey has with the two of them. And Jimmy's always been a pretty pro Morgan voice, so I think like my initial instinct was like, oh, this is worse for Mickey because Morgan has more play here, but it's still pretty bad for Morgan. Which is honestly strange. Morgan hasn't generally advocated for something that's bad for her game before. Who is it? Nobody. Morgan and Vince were talking. Vince was like, so did you ever find out who got it into Keanu's head that it was you guys? Because they've all been theorized. Who has been tricking Keanu? And the answer is Keanu. Keanu has been tricking Keanu. You're looking for a person outside of the guy, but it's all the guy. They can't believe or comprehend that he came up with it on his own. This does go back to Jimmy's HOH, yeah. The very bad Amy Renom might be the reason he is sent home this week. I mean, I talked about how bad the HOH was at the time. I talked about how bad the HOH was in hindsight last week. And it's getting even worse, as it now may be the direct cause of his eviction. Jetstream, thank you for the 52nd month. Oh, Mickey's in there. Wow, this is bad. This is a bad place for Mickey to be. She still hasn't talked to the people she should be talking to. At least not enough. She's got to get out of that room. And we keep cutting. I'm blinded. What I'm saying is that she shouldn't want to be there. That's what I'm saying. Yeah, Riley's basically trying to. Riley's saying that he wants to basically threaten Mickey if she puts up Catherine. Yeah, I'm not sure that will work. Mickey is the person who has been threatening, and if you threaten a person that threatens, it usually doesn't work. Do you think of the 53rd? Oh, boy. Why are we here? No, I was never a live feed chatter. I honestly I never even really looked at the official live feed chat rooms. But like the little I saw in there, I wasn't usually a super big fan of. It's Cherry. Thank you for the 39th. Hannah, thank you for the 6th. Yeah, I mean, this is not the most important conversation right now. We're just being punished. All right. You know what we can do? I promise more of these. We can read another review for the book from some of the advanced readers while we wait for the cameras to switch back to something worthwhile. There have been more ratings and reviews. There's 11 now. 11 ratings and 5 reviews. Also, there's a giveaway happening. Honestly, don't know much about it. Not logged in. But apparently there are 10 copies available for the giveaway. Okay, so actually, is this the one? I don't remember which one I read. I think I was going in order of when they were posted. Anyway, we'll just read the top one. I think some of these people have reached out to me also, and I said thank you. Hopefully I said thank you. This one is from Sabrina. 5 stars. Honest review. Oh, wait. Hold on. Oh, no, it's Rachel's in there now. And Jimmy. All right, never mind. Rachel's leaving. I want to see if Jimmy tries to talk game in here. Nothing right now. I will start this review by saying I have been watching Big Brother since Dr. Will in season 2 and have become what we in the community call a super fan since season 13. I'm a regular viewer of Taran's live feed updates and watch RHAP podcasts all the time, so a fan. When I first saw Taran announce that he wrote a book about Big Brother, my first reaction was extreme excitement for him because after watching just one live feed update of his, I think you will quickly understand how great of a storyteller he is. But my next thought was, well, what could he say in here that I haven't heard him talk about before? The answer was a lot. Look at that. The history behind the development of the show was one of the most intriguing parts to me because I didn't know most of it. It seems like the show kind of fell from the sky along with all the others, such as Survivor and The Challenge. He does such a great job of explaining the big players involved and how unique the concept was at the time that it was originally developed. He uses the show to reflect on where society was at the time in a fascinating way. Early 2000s were a lot different than where we are now, and it's evident in how serious topics were handled by production and the audience. My favorite quote about season 2: "Nothing screams early 2000s television more than solving homophobia through the power of friendship." That's funny. I think my agent liked that line too. Um, when he walks through through the different seasons piece by piece, it is so nostalgic for me. I remember where I was in life when certain events happened and how big of a deal they felt to me. As I mentioned before, Taran is a wonderful storyteller, and he was able to bring out all of the important context needed for the reader to understand how big of a deal some of these things were. I love that he included little snippets of his own life and how the show helped mold his childhood as it did mine. The Taylor Hale chapter was an absolute masterpiece. Reading her speech again, spoilers, brought me back to tears all over again. He brought me back to that moment of absolute joy that the entire fandom experienced together. I will never forget how that moment made me feel. If you are a super fan like me, then you probably know Taran wrote a book by now, and you should definitely read it. But I think this book is also for those who watch casually, haven't watched in a long time, or haven't watched it at all. While it was nostalgic for me personally in some parts, it has a lot of valuable observations about our society that would be interesting to someone who knows nothing about the show. Maybe it could even convince someone who watched the show once, saw the weird costumes and goofy editing, and turned it off to give it another chance. I was hooked from the very beginning and literally stopped the book I was reading mid-page to start this one. Big Brother and reading are two of my favorite things in life. So the fact that this exists makes me so happy. I can't imagine anyone else writing it, and I'm glad he did. What a lovely review. And now Mickey's talking to Jimmy. Genuinely, such a nice review. Thank you, Sabrina. It's very cool hearing people's thoughts about it, and genuinely like saying things that I was hoping that they would feel or think or say about the book. Seeing that like in some of these reviews has been really, really cool. Jimmy says he feels weird energy. I believe book catapult will ship to Canada. The energy is very bad. I mean, even the approach of this conversation, I think, is wrong. I think that the approach needs to be like, all right, so what's the plan? What can I do to help you? Sometimes feigning obliviousness can be effective. Because him saying he feels a weird energy now puts her on the defensive. Now she feels like, well, now I need to like convince him that I don't have a weird energy, and it makes things worse. Rex, thank you for the 6th month. Oh my God. He stood there gesturing for a hug for a very long time. And she sat still and said, I'm legit really tired. I think hanging around there was not bad, mostly because Morgan came in. And I don't know how much he knows this, but like preventing a convo between Morgan and Mickey right now is beneficial to him if he can. It could just be an incidental conversation. It could be like, oh, Morgan happened to be in there. It could be one that they're trying to have. If it's one that they're trying to have, then they're going to have it anyway. But if it was just an incidental one and he prevents it, like that could be important. But Morgan just followed her to the storage room. Mickey wants a serious conversation with Morgan. Morgan pushing to have it now. This is why Morgan is effective. Morgan's in there, and people like Rachel and Ava and even Ashley right now are not. Now, in this instance, is she pushing for a good thing for her? But man, Mickey might have picked a really bad time to to reintegrate with Morgan. I get it if they're like, hey, I'll talk to you later, but you can like Morgan is following her around. Morgan is saying, let's have our talk right now. Let's just get it out of the way. Like it's so important to get these convos in early. They almost just cut to Riley and Catherine again. Man, if she puts up Jimmy. Round top, thank you for the fourth. If she puts up Jimmy, there's a world where a Riley HOH would have been better for her. There's a world where she goes up on the block during a Riley HOH, and that's a better week for her. Because in that world, maybe Morgan goes. At the hands of Riley. Nah, it's still pretty bad, to be honest. I might take it back. Riley HOH is still worse. Are we in a position where no matter what, Riley won't go home? I don't think we can say that for sure. That's what people are saying today, but it's Saturday, and the eviction is Thursday. Yeah, I mean, the world where, because you know what? And I don't think Catherine is bluffing about this. There's definitely a world where on a Riley HOH, he backdoors Zach. And then Zach ends up using the veto. But it's a whole thing, right? And that definitely would have been better. Because Catherine's not lying. I think she would happily backdoor Zach. And if she was willing to do it, I guarantee you Riley would have been willing to do it. And we're back to Riley and Catherine. Zach's power is good to jury. Which, as I already basically said at the when it happened, he's just basically guaranteed jury. Oh, here's Mickey Morgan. My only concern. Yes. Yes. Yeah, Mickey. So Mickey's talking about. Thank you, Void. Mickey's talking about the final four, the proposed final four with Zach and Vince. And her concerns about it. She should be concerned about it. It's not a bad thing for her to accept if she wants to do the Catherine move. But putting all her eggs in that basket and doing the Jimmy move is where those concerns become very real. I think the big thing is Ashley being pro Jimmy, pro put up Jimmy player is what I think sinks the whole ship. Because it's not good for Ashley, but if Ashley was in solidarity with Ava and Rachel, and Will's not going to raise much of a fuss, I don't think, but if all of those people were telling Mickey don't do Jimmy, I think she doesn't do Jimmy. But if it's just Rachel and maybe Ava, that's not enough. If Ashley's pushing for it too, I think it then potentially happens. It's weird that Ashley's pushing for it though, because Ashley generally has a decent sense of where the pieces are. Like, I think if Ashley thinks about it, she'd realize it's a mistake, especially for her. I know she's not a fan of Jimmy, but yeah, everyone thinks Jimmy's doing more than he is, and they all think he has more pull than he does, which is it should be blatantly obvious. When everyone you talk to says, "Yeah, I don't trust the guy." It's a pretty telltale sign. But this is genuinely Rachel. It's weird to say that Rachel's not gaming hard enough. She's just not. Morgan pitching a Final Four to Mickey is enticing her into a decision. Rachel has nothing to offer. Rachel's already on Mickey's side. Rachel has no further allies to bring to the table. So Mickey doesn't have as much reason to go with Rachel or what she wants. And now we're back to Riley and Catherine. That's unbelievable. I would rather have the be right back screen. We also do not need the zoom in. Okay. Okay. Sounds like Mickey is bringing up the serious concerns about Vinny to Morgan. I believed Keanu is a wild statement to make. Again, Morgan's now telling Mickey that Zach, Vince, and Lauren are all anti-Jimmy. This, if you are a smart player, this is ringing alarm bells. If you are a smart player, this is what informs you that, I probably shouldn't do this. Because there's a whole group of people who I am at the bottom of and don't talk that much game with that all want this to happen. And the fact that she brought up Lauren out of nowhere is another huge red flag. They're now counting votes for Jimmy going up. I mean, this is, I think I literally said this morning or yesterday. The second Morgan is fully on board with Zach and Vince, it's game over. Because she will be the push that they need. Her putting in work to do this for them is massive for them. She's doing work that they are unwilling to do. She literally just said, Vince and Zach are playing both sides because they have to. Because they have to. Again, red flag. This is true. This is true. Jimmy did do that. That was a big screw up. We talked about it at the time. It was 2 weeks ago, though. Yeah, when Jimmy was HOH. Mickey talked about her conversation with Catherine and how she asked Catherine, "Why were you coming after me?" And Catherine said that she heard that she was coming after her. And when pressed about who said that, she said Jimmy. This is because during Jimmy's HOH week, which was such a bad week for him, and he thought he was pulling in Catherine, he was frustrated with Morgan and Mickey for pushing the Riley renom so heavily. And in his bout of frustration, told Catherine about them doing that. He was not trying to instigate. He was just annoyed and was hoping to pull Catherine in. Since then, he has all but abandoned Catherine and gone so all in on Morgan and Mickey and the women, which, you know, Mickey should ideally know, but obviously it would be concerning to hear that information and it be true information. And we're back to Riley Catherine. And Jimmy is entering the HOH room. Trying to enter the HOH room. I guarantee you what they are doing right now is, oh shit, Jimmy's here. Should we let him in? I think we have to. Oh, damn it. Should we pretend that we're doing something else? Okay, go. We're taking too long. Go get the door. And then they let him in. I mean, Jimmy needs to mobilize here. He needs to have an actual conversation with Mickey. He needs to. Oh, we're in there. Yep, they pretended like she was doing Mickey's hair. What did I tell you? What did I tell you? The three of us haven't hung out in a minute. I get Jimmy's instinct here if he's feeling something's off. This is better than saying the vibe is off. Um, but this is still like there's very little you can do right in this spot because now that he's like playing up how close they are, if in Mickey's mind she's thinking he still thinks he's playing me, then this is all coming off very poorly. What he needs to do, I think, in this moment is like search. Like he needs to figure out what's happening. And given that he said like, and again, I feel like saying the vibe is off is not the right way to go about it. I think that he needs to either ask other people what they've been hearing, and try to get a sense of where things are. Or again, just be like, hey, I'd really love, our one-on-one. Just try to actually get game talk from her. Um, it's tough though. It's tough when they have an image in their mind about you, they it's hard to flip that. You know what I mean? Especially when they don't even want to let you in to give it a shot. Um I mean, we saw that with Keanu so many times. Who is the best person to help Jimmy? I think it's Ashley. If he can talk to Ashley, because Ashley will tell him. Camden, thank you for the $5 over on YouTube. Is Keanu, Mickey, Morgan now a trio, or were they fake to Keanu during their convo and don't trust him? They were just saying that they trust what Keanu was saying. Are they a new trio? I don't think so. um, Ashley, I think, is the only person that can turn this around. Right now, she doesn't want to. Seemingly. I don't think Rachel can do it. I don't. Ava could with the right information, but the way Mickey was just talking about Ava, she was like, Ava loves Jimmy. Ava loves Jimmy. So she's already anticipating that Ava will not be on board with this move. So Ava's saying, it's just my opinion that I wouldn't want to do it. Like the light touch that Ava had with Lauren's HOH, I do not think will work on Mickey. She will need to bring out the bigger guns, the guns that she used to prevent the tie vote. She will need to come up with some logical arguments and some information about Vinny and Zach, which she has. She has both of those things. It's just a matter of like, does she actually use them? Does she even really have much of a chance to use them? All right, we're back. Jimmy is now helping prep. Ashley's talking to Lauren. Not game. Jimmy now asking about the convo with Keanu. They're lying to him about the conversation. They are giving him nothing. But honestly, I gotta respect the hustle here. He's helping filibuster. He's delaying this conversation. That's not nothing. The more he delays their conversation about nominating him, the better. It gives other people like Rachel, Ava, whoever else, time to eventually get up there before Mickey has made the decision. Mickey and Morgan picked a bad alibi for this conversation. Because Jimmy was basically just like, oh, let me help. And they couldn't say no. Vince working on Kelly. It's been a kind of a while since he's put in some serious work there. Ryan, thank you for the 39th. He should be careful, though. I think it's good to put in work with Kelly, but now is not exactly the time. Last thing he needs to get caught. Doing a one-on-one with Kelly. Morgan had a visceral reaction to Jimmy saying he would have put Vince on the block. This argument falls flat, though, because Jimmy's saying, I want to prioritize our games, but he proved that wrong on his HOH week. Yeah, I mean, you could see Morgan visualizing how she planned to tell Vince that Jimmy said he'd put him on the block. But I can't remember if I said this, but that's like Jimmy saying Vince's name is another reason why Mickey shouldn't want Jimmy gone. He is a problem for players like Vince. This conversation would be much better if he was having it with just Mickey. The fact that Morgan is in there is bad for him because Morgan will spin everything he says against him. Now he has said Vince's name to Mickey in front of Morgan. Morgan is going to tell Vince that. And now not putting Jimmy up feels like she's not prioritizing Vinny, which who cares? But in her mind, if she's not going to put up Vinny, just less incentive to do it again. Yeah, I mean, the wild thing to me is why in the world would, like, when Mickey talked, because here's a big thing, right? The fact that Mickey talked to Catherine and Catherine named Ashley as somebody that she wants gone. The fact that that wasn't enough to even remotely sway Mickey away from nominating Catherine tells you that she's pretty dead set on not nominating Catherine. That because again, I feel like this season has constantly been this lack of flexibility with players, where it's like she has this idea, and even hearing an ally's name from Catherine's mouth is not enough to give her pause. It would be terrible for her if Catherine won an HOH and nominated Ashley. Genmo, thank you for the 55th. Versus somebody like Jimmy, who is at the very least saying he would nominate Kelly, Keanu, Riley, Catherine, even Vince. Like, those are all good names for Mickey. Ashley is a terrible name for Mickey. Rachel is a terrible name for Mickey. So the fact that she's not really seeing that is pretty telling. Here's the thing. Even if Keanu has backed off of the Mickey thing, like Mickey, I think is vastly overestimating the value of these relationships that she has just forged. Like, who does Mickey spend her time with? Who gets along with her genuinely? And who are people that have made deals with her when she's in power, when she's HOH, out of nowhere? Those deals and relationships can be very valuable, but very rarely are they more valuable than the people that you actually click with. So to immediately dump your allies, your actual allies, for new potential connections, dumping by, which is again exactly what Jimmy did, exactly the mistake Jimmy made. It puts you in a really bad place. And it's again why Ashley should absolutely not want Jimmy on the block. Ashley should very much want Catherine on the block. because Ashley's in trouble with Catherine and Riley in the game. This is the worst run of HOHs you can remember to start it. I think I might agree. I think that the reason why there still is not really any actual house structure is because these HOHs have just been so bad. Every single one of them. Jimmy talking about how Rachel pulled him aside before the power thing and said, just make sure that people think Ashley has it. Again, that was so well played. I'm excited to watch that in the episode. But having Rachel go around telling people to make people think that Ashley has the power is exactly what you need, because now it creates a false dichotomy where it's like, well, it's either Ashley, the person that some people are making people think it is, or it's Rachel, the person who's trying to make people think that it's Ashley. And it removes Mickey from that process. All right, Jimmy is full on filibustering here. I think that's pretty good here. We almost a 2-hour stream. Wasn't really expecting that, but that's how things go. There's obviously a lot more to come tonight. We'll see how it goes in the morning. I've given plenty of analysis here. I still haven't heard anything direct yet from Mickey that she definitely plans to do this. And there is plenty of time as well before the ceremony on Monday. This isn't like Noms where they just come right away. So we will see. All you know is Rachel's talk about. Listen, if Jimmy hits the block, that is definitely not good for Rachel's game. It's gonna be Vince and Zach moving on up. Yeah. And honestly, Riley and Catherine moving on up. Vince, Zach, Riley, Catherine, Keanu, all of those people benefit. Kelly, to some degree. Morgan, I would move down. I think it's a bad move for Morgan. Morgan, Rachel, Mickey, Ava, Will, Ashley all move down with this move. Jimmy, obviously. Kelhead's rising. All right. I think that's about it then. Thanks for hanging out. I'll be live tomorrow morning, of course. We'll see if there's any conclusion that is reached tonight. And I'll see all of you then.